With a massive protest coming up on April 5th in Washington, D.C., and 50 smaller protests in the 50 state capitals on the same day, we wanted to share the ultimate guide to organizing and attending protests safely while knowing your rights. Check out our new anti-Trump superstore to wash pesky orange stains away and get everything you need to protest, from hats, fans, and stickers at ProfessorPride.com. We the people. Those are the first three words of the U.S. Constitution. It means all of us have rights and freedoms protected by law. Even in other countries, citizens in around 165 countries have some form of freedom of speech. It means you can openly criticize the government or any politician if you feel they are acting against your best interest. I know how difficult it is to sit at home watching the terrible news unfold, feel powerless to a traitorous convicted felon who took over your country in just 10 years, or watch as authoritarians make diabolical rulings. Rather than signing petitions online, which I can tell you from experience working at nonprofits, politicians just ignore, you want to make your voice heard. You would think political parties would want to make it easy for you to do so and organize protests for you, but Republicans are hiding in Washington because even conservatives are upset with their farms going under and our military secrets being leaked. They're too busy hiding to hold protests. But the Democrats, who have an opportunity here to be loud, have also been terrible at organizing protests recently. So we wanted to share not only how to safely protest, but how to organize one. Let's first go over how to organize a protest of your own, and then review your rights as well as some useful safety tips for attending one. First, you'll need to choose a topic you are very passionate about, and a topic you can clearly articulate if you are asked any questions about it. Ask yourself what your desired goal is. If you're out protesting and politicians or press come up to ask you what the perfect solution you see would be, have one ready. Don't just protest there is a problem, but try to come up with a solution. For example, we all know convicted felon Donald Trump is the biggest threat to our national security in United States history, and a clear threat to many other countries which rely on our help or our economy. But protesting that you hate Trump is what a majority of Americans and the world are doing right now. So what's the solution? Well, you could protest to have Trump impeached a third time and removed from office by force this time. You could protest to have him locked up in a prison cell for the few remaining days he has left as an old man. My point is, have a solution in mind, not just a complaint of a problem. Next, work with your friends or like-minded people to come up with a compelling message. Develop slogans which you and others can use to convey your message on signs or megaphones. Speaking of which, start Facebook groups or join existing ones to build a team. Find like-minded individuals and share your strengths with them. Perhaps one of you is an artist who can come up with signs or graphics for your social media. Maybe another of you has connections in the local press to stir up interest and get the press to come out the day of the protest. Next, choose a date, time, and location for your protest. Saturdays and Sundays will have more folks showing up because more people don't work on the weekends, but if you're protesting outside of government buildings, politicians and their staff won't be there on weekends to hear your protest outside. Early morning protests make it difficult to have folks come from further away, but could catch politicians on their way into work. Late night protest means it's dark outside, which causes a security risk for you and your protesters. We find it best to hold protests around lunchtime so the most amount of people can join and see the actual effects. The ACLU suggests holding protests in traditional public forums such as streets, sidewalks, parks, or other public property like plazas in front of government buildings, as long as you are not blocking access to the government building or interfering with other purposes the property was designed for. You should also check with the local government or authorities to see if any permits are required to hold a larger protest. This info can usually be found doing a Google search, researching on your city's website, calling your city's office, or going in person to ask your city's clerk. Usually, if you are sticking to sidewalks or public parks, you don't need a permit, but if you plan to march down roadways or plan to use a sound system that may require a power connection, then permits may be required. Next up, plan for safety. Have a local business donate a few cases of water bottles. By the way, Costco is donating a lot of water bottles to local protests right now, so huge shout out and thank you to Costco. Have a basic first aid kit available for any minor injuries. Try to have security or the police there to protect anyone who attends. and develop communication protocols with your organizing team in case something goes wrong. Next, get the word out. Use social media, put flyers around town, get on TV, radio, and in the local paper to advertise your protest. Yes, this does mean people who may not agree with your goals might hear about the protest and come out to counter-protest, which they have a legal right to do. But besides a few rare instances of Bernie Sanders and AOC getting 30,000 people together, this is something Democrats do a terrible job with. Time and again, my family sees a protest going on only after it happens, and is being covered on the local news. Democrats love to hold protests at the last minute with no advertising, because MAGA supporters might show up to counter-protest. And I'll grant you, it does make the situation a lot more dangerous. Remember, they're the ones who committed treason, storming a Capitol, or at the very least, think treason is not disqualifying to be president. But Republicans love Democrats shooting themselves in the foot here, because without advertising, any pictures or videos from the protest will only show a few dozen people showing up instead of hundreds. So don't be afraid to get the word out, especially on social media in groups of like-minded people. Perhaps in your advertising you can suggest to people where to park for free or at a reduced cost. Outline where exactly you'll be grouping together, not just saying you'll meet in a large park. And don't forget to make up one-sheet outlines for the press. This way, whenever a press outlet comes up to you asking for an interview, you can give them one, but you can also hand them a flyer outlining what exactly you're protesting. Bullet points of what you hope to accomplish, maybe who exactly you think can accomplish those goals, and the solutions you think are reasonable request. On the day of the protest, gather everyone in one area and first go over some basic safety rules so everyone goes home happy and healthy. Feel free to use some of our following tips in the speech before chanting your slogans and having guest speakers come to the microphone. If you're attending a protest, you should first research the protest you plan to attend and the organization running it to make sure all of their bullet points align with your values. If needed, don't be afraid to reach out to the organizers with questions you may have a few days in advance, not the day of. Go with a friend or a family member because protests are always safer in numbers than alone. But if you plan to go alone, text or call a trusted friend to let them know where you'll be, just in case something happens. A friend going with you can also help by recording any violations of your freedom of speech or freedom to peacefully assemble. Prepare for the day by packing a bag of supplies. If a protest is planned for an hour or so, then just bring a bottle of water to stay hydrated. But if you plan to be out longer, bring lots of water, energy-rich snacks like protein bars, and wear some suntan lotion. You can also make and bring a homemade sign to help you convey your message. Research if the protest already has a few slogans that you should maybe use to convey a combined message, but if not, come up with your own. Just make sure to not use any profanity or threats of violence on your sign. If you're protesting near a road, perhaps have a call to action on your sign like honk if you hate Trump. We also suggest using foam board instead of poster board so your sign can hold steady through light wind. Dress for the occasion. If it's hot, wear something light like a t-shirt and shorts. Don't forget a hat and sunglasses. If it's cold, then wear a warm coat and gloves. If there's a chance of rain in the forecast, bring a rainbow umbrella. Many law firms also suggest to keep any easily identifiable tattoos or scars covered to reduce the chance of being identified in pictures or by AI programs. Wear comfortable closed-toe shoes because you'll be on your feet all day and in case you need to run quickly. No sandals or high heels here. Wear long-sleeve shirts and pants as this helps protect your skin from tear gas or rubber bullets if the police get hostile. If you wear contact lenses, choose to wear glasses to a protest, because tear gas can get caught between the eye and your contact lenses. Most importantly, set up your phone before you go to a protest. The Electronic Frontier Foundation suggests turning your phone on airplane mode before going to a protest or political rally. You are going to want to take your phone in case you need to call the police, call for a ride, or document any violations of your First Amendment rights. But your phone can also be used to trace who was at the protest by leaving digital crumbs behind, which could leave you vulnerable. This is especially true if you have apps like TikTok or Twitter, which is now owned by Elon Musk, who you may very well be protesting against. While AI programs are fun for us to use to see Donald Trump as a baby being held by Elon Musk, the far right is using AI to track their enemies, so don't give them any digital crumbs to find, and turn your phone to airplane mode before leaving your house. You should also know phones can be confiscated by the authorities, so the EFF also suggests turning off any biometric passwords, such as fingerprints or facial recognition software to open your phone, which can make it easier for the police to access your device. Instead, choose password protection and wipe your screen from any fingerprints before the police confiscate your phone if you can. During a protest, stay vigilant at all times. If you're standing on the sidewalk or side of the road, stand behind some form of barricade like bollards, Jersey barriers, or vehicles. Anything that separates you from a car, or in other words, a 4,000-pound ramming device driven by a MAGA supporter who doesn't really care about going to jail for their leader, and let's be honest, they'll probably be pardoned anyway, is highly suggested. Remember, MAGA supporters have already proven themselves to be highly violent. If you're in a city or near a tall building, look on the rooftops of buildings near your protest to be vigilant of suspicious people on roofs. Be aware of slow-moving cars, people with heavy jackets on in the summer, or anything that can be used to conceal a weapon. Speaking of which, you can legally take a weapon with you if you have one. Nearly half of US states have policies prohibiting public carry of firearms on Capitol grounds. But if you're in a park, on a sidewalk, or elsewhere on public grounds, it is generally perfectly fine to open carry or carry with a concealed permit. Just check your state's laws first. Remember, just because Republicans talk about it much more than we do, Republicans are not the only ones who are entitled to the freedoms of the Second Amendment. So protect yourself and bring it with you just in case. I personally suggest in this day and age that if you can, protect yourself with the freedom of the Second Amendment anyway, no matter where you go, not just at protest. If you don't have one or are protesting in an area which does not allow them, bring some pepper spray with you at the very least, as a last resort just in case. Remember, stay peaceful as much as you can at all times, but if danger comes to you first, you do have the legal right to defend yourself and your friends. If anything happens which you feel violates your rights to peacefully assemble or free speech, document it. Take photos or video of the incident. Get contact info of witnesses. Write down everything you remember when it's safe to do so, and get the badge numbers and patrol car numbers and the agency they work for if you can. You can later file complaints with the agency's Internal Affairs or Civilian Complaint Board, but if things get unsafe or unruly, we suggest getting out of there and getting yourself to safety above all else. The ACLU also suggests we inform you that you do have the legal right to take pictures, video, or audio recordings of protest while on public property. You can record anything in plain public view. In other words, if you can see it with your eyes, then you can also film it. But you cannot zoom in to film anything inside of the windows of buildings. Police cannot demand to see any photos or videos you have without a warrant from a judge first, nor can they ever delete any data. You can legally film the police if you feel it is necessary, and they cannot stop you unless you are physically in the way of them doing their job, which is legally open for interpretation by a court if it ever came to that. If the police try to detain you for any reason, always remain calm and never physically resist a police officer. If you are stopped by the police, ask them if you are free to leave. If they say yes, calmly walk away. If they say no, ask the officer calmly what specific crime you are suspected of committing, and ask a friend to film the interaction so you have documentation of everything that is said. Remember, the less you say, the better, and while you should always tell the truth, police can and will lie to you, so if you are detained, leave as much speaking as possible up to your lawyer or public defender. The less you say, the easier any court case will be. If they detain you for filming, remind the officer, quote, that taking photographs is your right under the First Amendment and does not constitute reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Also, remember to protect the identities of other protesters. You can take photos and videos at a protest. Sharing them online can help raise awareness of your cause, but respect the privacy of other protesters, and never post photos or videos in which others can be easily identified. Now, personally, I suggest here to take photos and video of everyone around you, including their faces, at a protest, and especially anyone suspicious that walks by, to make sure you have some photo evidence if something bad were to ever happen. But do not post these photos to social media, as this is just in case something terrible happens and you need it later for evidence. Finally, after a protest is over, keep the momentum going. Get involved in your local community by attending council meetings. Ask your local officials to make small changes locally. Call your representatives and senators to make changes nationally. And never let the momentum fade away until equality is reached and human rights are respected. For our US viewers, you can call the Congressional Switchboard at 202-224-3121 to be directed to your representative or senator, or you can email them using the Find My Representative search at house.gov. Even if you cannot attend a protest in person, you can donate cases of water bottles, hand sanitizer, or small supplies to organizers. You can share protests on social media. You can work behind the scenes helping to create slogans or share updates to the cause. You can email or call your elected officials to ensure they act in your best interest, not just their own. If you're young, you can organize or attend protests too. You can lead a march at school to protest for what you believe in. You can make signs or flyers for around school or town to support a cause you want to promote. While you may not be old enough to vote yet, you can educate adults on your cause, so those adults can be better informed in their vote. The truth is, there is a lot you can do to fight back against everything bad in the world right now. From the atrocities by a traitorous Donald Trump, the terrorist groups attacking Ukraine and Israel, and the seemingly endless barrage of proposed bills and laws attacking LGBTQ people worldwide in countries like the United States and Hungary. Whenever you feel silenced, make your voices heard. When your elected officials aren't listening, meet them on the steps of their office buildings with the crowd of people they'll be hurting. And when those in the White House commit treason, be a patriot and show a wannabe dictator who thinks he's loved by all that you're in the majority who want him put behind bars for his many crimes. Elected officials' only jobs are to listen to and act in the best interest of those they represent. So make sure your voice is deafening to their inboxes and ears, so they have no choice but to do what we, the people, want. And if all else fails, do the ultimate protest and run for office yourself. If you'd like to support our show, check out ProfessorPride.com for hundreds of ways to show off your pride. Check them out now along with our LGBTQ books, magnets, pins, umbrellas, digital downloads, and more at ProfessorPride.com. Special thanks to our members and subscribers this month who proudly support our work providing LGBTQ education and resources. Please subscribe to our channel or click on this video to continue enjoying Powered by Rainbows.